Being here.
All right. Welcome everybody. This is such a great treat to be able to spend this afternoon or evening with all of you as Wendy has helped us to set this up. We just think this is a super exciting partnership, and Liz and I are just pumped to be able to help support what all of you do. So I'll let Liz, give a personal introduction of herself in just a moment, but I just want to say, like, I taught for about 18 years, and a whole bunch of soul study subjects, like Wendy mentioned, and I know that the work of teaching is incredibly difficult, and Liz does as well. And we are here at our center to try to make the job easier for you as much as possible, and just to provide you with as much as we can to make your life a little bit more fun, a little bit more enjoyable, and take some of the load off of you for trying to design and develop resources for your students. And so whatever we can do in that capacity, any help we can offer you, please do reach out to us via email or put your questions in the chat here. Liz is going to be monitoring the chat. She's posted an agenda, a document that has a lot of really useful links in there that we'll be walking through in a bit. So watch for that in the chat if you don't already see it. And then Liz, would you like to introduce yourself?
I mean, Wendy gave me a very nice introduction, but
Yeah.
I did want to say, I know somebody had said, civics is hard to find for fifth grade. So one of the
Mhm.
things that Jeff and I really want to make sure that we do is K through 12, right? Because I think a lot
Mhm.
of times the high school teachers get stuff, and that's great and that's awesome. But
Mhm.
we really want to honor our elementary teachers, because we very much believe that
Mhm.
civics is a K-12 thing, and it doesn't just belong in social studies. Civics belongs everywhere. So, Jeff did say, please reach out to us via email. That is a very genuine and sincere thing. We were
Mhm.
both teachers. We understand how crazy things can get. So a lot of times we can send you things, or we have all of this information and we're so happy to share. So please never hesitate. Our emails are actually on the bottom of the agenda, which I keep putting in the chat, but
Yeah.
as new people join, I just want to
Yeah.
make sure that everybody has access.
All right. So I'll just share you a quick little introduction to our center as well, and who we are and what we do. Hopefully this is working. If you can't see in the screen share, then let me know, but it should be up there. So that is the main website is civics.asu.edu. Hopefully that's nice and easy to remember. That's also on the document, and then you can reach both of us by email at civics@asu.edu. That email goes to an inbox that both of us can see and respond to at any point, just whoever happens to be available to get to it. But that's all on the document as well. Here's who we are. We are a nonpartisan. That's very important to make sure I say we are a nonpartisan center. Uh, ASU has a lot of schools, universities operate schools that do kind of the teaching on campus, and then they have centers that do outreach off of campus. And so we are a center under the School of Civic and Economic Thought and Leadership, and our purpose is to support and strengthen the knowledge of American civics and skills of civil discourse among K through 12 students. So our work is focused in the space that you're in that K through 12 school space, specifically with civic education. And so that's what we do, and why we exist. It's to work with teachers, and we're doing that in a lot of ways. We'll talk about some of these in more detail at other sessions that we host. There's one in particular on this list that we're going to focus on today, which is the civic literacy curriculum. But just to give you a big overview of some of the other stuff we do host live teacher professional development workshops for K through 12 teachers that will usually have a partial, part of the workshop will usually be a content seminar on something from U.S. history or civics from one of our professors in the Skettle faculty at ASU. And then usually myself or Liz will present some kind of like pedagogy chips for how to teach that particular content. And so a lot of those are done live on the ASU campus, but we also do live webinars as well. And the details for those are posted on our website if you're interested in looking into those. And we do have stipends available if you participate in a research study we're doing where you kind of walk away from the workshop and apply what you've learned and do a civics lesson in your class, and then write up a reflection about how it went with your students. So that's available on our website. We've got a lot of resources posted on our website. We'll focus largely today on that civic literacy curriculum. We'll abbreviate with CLC going forward. And that is the focus today. So I won't spend a ton of time on that right now. And then we also are working to try to rebuild the connection between the civilian and military community. We have noticed that there is a growing gap in civilian awareness of what military life is like, and consideration of military options as potential careers. And not that we think that every student should be joining the military, certainly not, but we do believe that there needs to be kind of a bridge to close that divide between those two communities. And so we have a program that gets veterans into classrooms. We have screens trained military veterans. We have contacts across the country that are ready and willing to volunteer to come into your classes and talk about civics and constitutionalism and history, and answer students' questions about what their life has been like in the service. And so that's an option for you. If you want more information about that, you can certainly reach out to us about that program as well. It's called VIP, Veterans Inspiring Patriotism. So all of that is at the website, which you've been told. So that's the kind of basic introduction there for what we have available. So we'll show you a few of the highlights from our website for what we can offer to you. Let me now navigate to that website. So we're going to the main link, the civics.asu.edu. I'll take you to that site and show you what it looks like if you can't, if you're not in a position to navigate to that on your own right now. Okay, so our homepage looks like this. It just says simply Center for American Civics. And the site is organized up at the top based on resources that we think are going to be most useful for students, or for teachers, sorry. Resources most useful for students. And there is some crossover there. If anything, it's applicable to both. We do kind of file under both of those. And then resources that are kind of most suitable for those in the community outside of the schools. And then just some basic about information as well. So this is sort of the list of things available for teachers. So I'll show you a few of the highlights there. I'm going to try to stay in relative order with the way that we, let's see if I can open this document. I'm going to stick with what we've got. So one thing you'll see on there is that there is a blog right down here. I'll just highlight that for a moment. This blog includes posts that were written by Liz and by a whole bunch of other teachers that participated with her in a lot of summer work about developing civic dispositions among students and thoughts about how to teach civics through inquiry, and all kinds of other great things. Reading primary sources. There's some wonderful, wonderful posts in here. A couple of my favorites are, there's one from an episode of a podcast that we did with our professor, Luke Perez, where he talked about what he does to summarize large chunks of reading as he's doing his studying and writing. And when we heard it, we were like, this is super useful information for students in secondary grades, especially. So it was a 3-sentence summary that could get you kind of the crux of any big chunk of reading that you were doing. So that's posted on here. There's a great episode where one of Liz's teachers from the task force on civics that she was working with a couple summers ago talked extensively about how he uses questioning and inquiry, his models of questioning that he would use in his classroom. Great model for how to direct student learning through inquiry. So they're categorized over here for you to flip through some of the, kind of easy to read, easy to track, like which are about which subjects. So you can take a look at those and see what looks good to you. There's often a podcast episode associated with each of these blog posts. So you can listen to those if you would like to hear more from any of those. So that's one feature of our website.
Jeff, can I pop in a second?
Of course, please do.
One of the important things when Jeff and I were doing the blog and the podcast is they all feature educators who are still in the classroom. Yes, Jeff and I have lots of experience, but we have not been in the classroom for a while. So all of our blogs and podcasts feature people who are actively using these things in class. So one of the blog posts was on elementary, how to make civics accessible in elementary. So we really try to, because we know civics is really hard for the elementary, we really try to kind of focus on that. So I just want to say that our blog, our podcast, everything we do is very teacher focused because you guys are the experts in your classroom.
Absolutely. Okay. So I am going to navigate next to the educator events page real quick and just show you that this is where we post when we are having those paid live professional development opportunities. And they will list when we show these, whether they are, kind of live held on the ASU campus or, virtual on Zoom. And so these are not only open to Arizona teachers, these are open to teachers nationally when we hold them virtually. So, I mean, if you want to travel to Tempe and come come visit us and participate in one of these live ones, you're certainly welcome to do that too. But I figure y'all are probably more apt to do the virtuals. So so this is where you can get information and apply to attend. That is with this educator events tab that you see right there. Okay. And then one other thing before we get to the civic literacy curriculum, kind of the main focus for today, is I want to show you our Civic Classics Collection virtual guide. So our center acquired a number of rare artifact books and documents that were related to various key moments of U.S. history and in American civics. That includes some original copies of the first publications of the Federalist Papers. That includes one of Martin Luther King's letters and a few other documents that you can see in here. There's an Abraham Lincoln letter in here as well. So if you want to take a look just to see what's there, you certainly may. And then our professors have done some write-ups about the significance of each of these documents, just in case it's useful to your classroom in any way. So you can take a look at what's in there. We have some related to Adam Smith, Cesar Chavez, so there you go. That's the Civic Classics collection. And if you ever do visit the ASU campus, we have those housed in the library for viewing, and we bring them out to some of our events. So, okay. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me or type them into chat. Liz will do her best to respond to y'all in the chat as we go, because I may just miss it as I'm going through the presentation. But if you need to stop me, you're welcome to turn your mic on and hop on as well. Okay.
This would actually be the Civic Classic Collection would actually be really good with that 3-sentence summary. So students can see Washington's farewell address is my favorite, but look and see these things, and there's videos and there's lots of lessons. And again, they're all free. We don't ask you for anything.
Absolutely. Okay, so the main focus for today, and what I think is kind of the crown jewel of what our center has produced so far in its existence, is this civic literacy curriculum right here. So I'm going to go ahead and navigate to that. Your document that Liz shared with you also takes you to a direct link for it. So here's sort of the genesis of like where the civic literacy curriculum came from. There was a big movement that many of you may be familiar with to kind of push civics back to the forefront that started really in like 2017, 2018 to say that like we weren't doing enough to test students and hold them accountable to make sure that they came out of high school, graduating with some level of civic knowledge. And so the simple fix that a lot of policymakers in a lot of states came up with was, well, why don't we require the citizenship test as a graduation component? And so I believe something like 36 states now have enacted that requirement, including Kentucky. And so with that happening, and also the citizenship test was simultaneously getting redesigned for a new set of questions. They were revising some old questions and replacing them. They were adding some new questions as well. Our center built a curriculum that was meant to be aligned specifically to those citizenship test questions, but not just to give students the one single piece of information that they need to answer that question, but also to teach them with more depth and more discussion and more inquiry about the principles underlying that question. So I'll scroll down a little bit here. The first thing you may want to do, if you're interested, is that there is a set of teacher materials that you can have for the back end that include rubrics for evaluating various assignments that are in this curriculum, answer keys for some of the ones that have more closed-ended questions, and also just some kind of like helpful tips and things like that that are in there. The teacher material, there's samples that you can have as well of what a student assignment might look like. So that's in there. Most of the materials in here are completely free, ready to access right now without any kind of account on our website. So your students can get there without any restriction. But the teacher materials do require you to register for an account. So I would encourage you, if you're interested in accessing this, you'll want to click that Access Teacher Materials button. And then we're just looking for you to create a new account. I already have one, so I could log in here, but you would just click Create a New Account right here. And then create yourself a username, tell us about your school, and we're trying to make sure that these resources go primarily to teachers. And so just tell us what school you teach at and what grades you teach, and then that's it. Once you submit that with a new account, Liz and I will see that come into our inbox very quickly and approve the account so that you can have full access on that page. So I would highly encourage you to do that if you're interested in getting those teacher materials on the back side. We'll go now to the full curriculum and give you a look at just kind of trying to tour you through this and what it looks like. So the curriculum is broken into 7 sections. You can see those 7 sections labeled up here, and you can use the button here to navigate to any of those sections that you're interested in. Okay, so let's say we want to start by taking a look at this rights and responsibilities section. Now, it is not aligned kind of in order to the way that these things might get taught in the Kentucky curriculum, but it's easy to navigate so that you can kind of find in various places like what you might be looking for that day. It's easily searchable. I have attempted a couple of times to say like, okay, what if I want to find just the stuff related to Congress? When I've just Googled civic literacy curriculum Congress, it's taking me to the relevant pages that have the lessons about Congress that we've posted on here. So it's pretty easy to navigate, even if this isn't the exact order that you might teach these subjects in. So let's say we want to look at the rights and responsibilities of citizens. We have lessons and guides that are aligned to specific questions from the citizenship test. So for example, question 63 on the US citizenship test reads, there are several amendments to the US Constitution about who can vote. Which of these is not one of them? And then kids have a multiple choice set of answers. So what we have created now to go along with that question is, first of all, it will show what the question is on the citizenship test and what the correct answer is on this is exact words on the official US CIS citizenship test. And it's showing you what the correct answer is there. But now we have some additional information for you to be able to provide to your students or for your students to read about the background of the expansion of the suffrage rights and each of these amendments and when they were ratified. Okay, so there's a little bit of background reading. But also associated with each and every one of these questions, we have specific lesson plans and materials that teachers can use. Okay, so we have, for example, this activity prompt where students are going to be prompted to write an editorial encouraging people to vote in an upcoming election. And provided with that, we have materials for students on these PDF documents here to teach students about the process of writing and give them kind of a template that they could try to follow to make that argumentative essay, right? So every one of these, kind of question guides will also have lesson materials like this. And then instructions for, this is sort of the lesson plan right here. It's like, this is prompts for the teacher that, you can give directions to your students and kind of know what the process for this lesson might look like. Okay. It gives you tools to use, like you can have a brainstorming discussions with your students, like, brainstorm with your students as a class, talk about why is it important to vote? How does it help the nation? What reasons do people have for voting? What reasons do people have for not voting? And then you can start thinking about how to respond to those kinds of ideas in writing in this editorial. So just there's always an idea for a lesson with these. So that's one thing that's always included in each of these associated with each question. Let me see. Another thing that you'll see we have this offline activity. We also have discussion prompts that you can use with your students. So the first discussion prompt, as it says here, is always designed to support students who aren't really getting it. You can do this as kind of a precursor to the lesson, as maybe a think, pair, share real quick activity, or a bell work kind of thing, or you could do it at the end of a lesson to try to bring some closure and understanding to students who maybe aren't totally getting it. And then the second discussion prompt is always one that can kind of like take the content a little deeper and make a more modern real world connection, or connection to a historical event. So for example, here's an example of that kind of, prompt number one style. It says, since the Constitution went into effect in 1789, excuse me, 4 amendments specific to voting have been added. Can you name one of them and explain how it protects the rights of American citizens? So that'd be a great way to kind of check for any prior knowledge with students in a bell ringer beforehand, or to kind of check and see if individual students have picked something up from the lesson at the end, as far as specific knowledge. The second one here, how does voting enable citizens to protect their rights? That's a more, kind of like, let's make some modern connections. Let's think about the big picture discussion that you can have with your students at the end of the lesson to kind of take their understanding a little bit deeper. So there's always a couple of discussion questions like that included as well. Now, let me show you another lesson just to show you some other things that are usually included in one of these. Oh, I should mention, there's always, with each of these big sections that have these big full curricula with like all these, documents and lesson materials you can use, they often have primary sources included in them. There's also these very short, quick study guides available too. So if I click on, section 4 Bridge Study Guide, this is essentially the short version of the full section 4 curriculum, where we're just listing out really quickly for students, main ideas about, the colonists' arrival in North America and why. And each of these also includes a short video. I believe these videos are usually 1 to 2 minutes long, highlighting, a little bit of the most important information to answer the question, and maybe a little bit of extra information to deepen their understanding. And then that's it. So they're very, very short and sweet. I'll play this one. Let's see if this works. I'm hoping the sound will work if I share it, but I'm not 100% certain that it will. Let me see if this will work. I'm not totally certain the sound will come through, but is that working as I share the screen, or let's see, do I need to? Let me see. Let's try this now. Is that working by any chance? Can you hear that? Not so much? Okay. Let's see. I used to know.
It's awesome.
It's all right. It does work. So we'll move on. You don't need to watch the video right now, but they're all pretty short and sweet and hit the most important information for students to know associated with each of those questions. So in many cases, if I go back to the full curriculum, okay, as I come down here, in many cases, they will also attach them to the question they're related to, right? So for the full curriculum, we have question 73, why did colonists come to America? So we'll click on that. Okay. So here's the question, why did colonists come to America? This is the exact question and set of answers that are on the US citizenship test. We have, once again, the background. We have the offline activity and some great readings. We have the Mayflower Compact they can read, and some other great lesson plan ideas. If you go now to this discussion prompts, let's see, somewhere in here, oh, maybe I've seen different questions. Many of these will also embed the video here. If there's a related video that ties to answering that question, it will also be embedded there. So let me try and find an example of that. I know they're in here. Let's see. Okay, let's see. So here's stuff on the Declaration of Independence. We have all the same kind of lesson materials and discussion prompts available to students, things like that. Well, not in this case, but many of these do attach the video to the questions, and you'll see those in the study guide section as well. The videos are always in the study guide section. So that's a little bit of the design there. Any questions so far? If I just pause for a moment as I've kind of like run through that really, really fast. Is there any questions about some of the resources that are included in that curriculum so far? Okay. I'll give it a moment. Okay, great. Well, hopefully you're enjoying what you're seeing so far and you can find some usefulness. Let me go now to the flashcards as well. This is another useful piece of this. So if I go to Principles of the American Republic, okay, we have the abridged study guide. Once again, the study guide section also contains flashcards. Okay, so we go now to review the flashcards. Okay. Whoops. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So here we have an aligned video about rule of law that you could watch if you wanted to. And then we also have flashcards related to, well, that's not good. Let's test that out. I might need to be logged in for the flashcards. That could be the problem. Let's see. We'll see if I sign in, if that changes things. Okay. I'm going to just get that opened up real quick one more time. Oh, okay. I will fix those. There's something on our back end that's not turned on right now, so we're going to need to take a look at that and get them opened back up. But there are flashcards available for students that are kind of in Quizlet style for them to take a look at and open up again. Okay. With that, there's also practice tests that the students can take. Let me show you those. Okay. Let me go back to the site. So if we go to the homepage of Civic Literacy Curriculum again, we have the tests up here in a couple of formats. Okay. So the homepage here has these links to practice quizzes and the videos, and then right here we have this. Liz highlighted this portion to make it easy to find. Access civic literacy practice tests here. Okay. So we'll click on that. So there's two parts to this. One part that is accessible here is, yeah, this was working just a moment ago. So this is something got flipped off on this that I'll have to take a look at again. Rest assured.
Yes, we just changed the name of the website because we had a total rebrand. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that ASU is doing something to us because we definitely had these.
So ordinarily speaking, and hopefully later, sometime maybe tomorrow when you take a look at this, there will be questions in order here. You'll see section 1, Principles of the American Republic. And the questions will pop up on here with a prompt, and students can answer them and flip through them and check their understanding for that section. And it will score them and tell them how they did for each question. They can do the same thing for each of these sections and see how they performed. Alternatively, if that's not the way that's going to be most useful, I mean, that's a great thing for students to be practicing on. If you need something more in kind of traditional paper format to administer in a class, what we have all the way at the bottom of the page is something that Liz and I designed much more recently. We decided to redesign the questions on the citizenship test to adjust them for grade level abilities. Okay. And so you'll see down here on the bottom, these intermediate grades 6 through 8 is kind of the original level of the citizenship test. That's sort of like the level that the citizenship test is given at. So if you take a look at this one, you should be able to get a PDF pulled up that, if it will open up here. it will be showing you many of these questions are exactly the ones that are on the citizenship test, or slight variations to them where we felt like clarification was needed. And then there's an associated answer key as well that you can use for the. There's a 50 question version and a 20 question version. We have a teacher answer key. All you need to do is contact us and request those answer keys, and we will happily send those to you. We're just trying to keep those protected just to be accessed by teachers for your own uses. Then we banded them down to make them a little simpler for lower grade levels and a little more advanced for high school and college level kinds of assessments. They are still the same concepts being tested as are on the citizenship test, so still aligned with a lot of what you're seeing in the civic literacy curriculum, just at different levels. So for example, here's what some of those beginner questions look like by comparison. Okay, so for sort of a grades 3 through 5 level understanding of American citizenship and civics, we have things like, this question: what kind of government does the United States have? And we have, these 4 simple terms to describe who we are, right, and what we do. Real simple things to just kind of check their development of civic understanding. All of this is covered in those short videos. All of this is covered in the lessons that are on the civic literacy curriculum. So that is what the tests are designed for. And then I'll show you what the high school and college levels look like by comparison. Okay. So here's kind of a more advanced high school level. Okay. So now we have a more specific question about, the US Constitution and a conflict between federal and state law and what the Constitution says about that. This is not a question that's directly on the citizenship test. There is a question on the citizenship test that addresses, federal supremacy in a very kind of in a simpler way. This is a more sophisticated understanding of what that Article 6 supremacy clause is saying. Okay. And you'll see that with most of these questions. And then when we go to the advanced level, one of our professors provided a lot of questions that he asks in his classes about American civics to try to get. So if you have like advanced placement students in high school who are looking for more college prep, you get some really great comparative kinds of questions and really up the difficulty level for your students. And we do have the answer keys for this one too. When we worked to develop this with a foundation, the members of that foundation took this test and were like proud of themselves for getting like 70% of these correct. So these are quite difficult, and so you're welcome to take a look at these and request the key if you want to give your students a real tough challenge. So those are some of the resources there, and we have long and short versions so that you can use them in whatever context you might need them for. And these span the whole civic literacy curriculum as kind of summative assessments. And then apologies for the flashcards and tests somehow getting disabled right here. We'll have to make sure that gets fixed for you, but I do promise it has worked and will work again. Okay, so I'll pause there for just a moment and see, is there any other questions I can help answer for you right now so far? Okay, great. So I think that that the real value of the civic literacy curriculum is it's kind of like you've got everything kind of like packed into one place for like what to do with a class for a day if you have a particular civic concept that you're trying to teach for a particular day. So as I go back into that full curriculum, if you wanted to teach about in systems of government, if you're going to be doing a lesson on Congress today, you can begin with, maybe you begin your students with, asking about, this in a bell ringer, and see how many of your students know the two houses of Congress, if they can just identify the Senate and House of Representatives, and if they can just identify what powers Congress does have and what powers Congress doesn't have, in this case, choosing state governors, right? Then you can provide your students as a lesson with a background reading, right? You can go through, one of these discussion prompts, like, hey, what do you already know about the legislative branch? What you could show this video. Here's one that's embedded right here where it talks about the United States Senate, the function of the Senate, the function of the Senate in creating laws, a couple more videos about requirements to become a senator. You could show any of these videos that seem to be relevant to learning about the Senate to your students, and then have a quick discussion prompt. All right, students, what do you know so far about the legislative branch? What are the responsibilities of those we elect to the House and Senate? And these are questions that I think are, that sixth graders and fifth graders are totally capable of responding to and being able to take something from. And then, so can high schoolers. They might do it at a higher level, but this is something that they also can respond to and express their learning here. And then from that point, you can take on, one of these online or this offline activity. There's an activity where students are going to be writing a job description for a legislator, and we've got activities here to describe what the legislative branch does, and then prompt the students for how they can write a job description. It's just kind of a fun little career connection, even to learning about civics that kind of goes outside of just the space of civics. You've got instructions here for how to assign the workout and what the activity can look like. You've got rubrics to evaluate. Back in these teaching materials, you'll see rubrics to evaluate the work that they did and take a look at the quality of their work. And then you can finish with this final discussion prompt. So prompt 2 says, what if there was just one house within the legislative branch rather than two? How would that affect the way decisions are made? And now we can get a more kind of complex discussion going after having already learned about the functions of the two houses of Congress. And then later on in the unit, when you have finished with all of this, you've got a lot of options for how to test their understanding about Congress from that lesson. We've got these kind of basic citizenship test questions that we looked at that were kind of the basis of this lesson. And then we've also got, you're welcome to pull from those PDFs we had produced about the kind of full length of the test. Let me go find that one again and just show you some examples of what we have in those practice tests. So going back down here again. So assuming you had maybe a high school level class that you were going through that activity with, you can just parse through this, find questions about Congress, right? So let me find one of those. I know we have one. So, who has primary responsibility for drawing congressional district boundaries? Why does every state have the same number of senators in the U.S. Senate? You're welcome to take those and just add them into your own assessment. So we have, kind of interest catching activities. We've got review activities for students. We've got, in-class lessons there. We've got assessments for you there. So hopefully it can be kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of your lesson planning. And obviously, Liz and I have been teachers. We know that in many cases, we don't use like everything contained within the house, what was housed from one website, and we modify what we get from them and do what we want with it. And you are, of course, encouraged to continue using your expertise and creativity as teachers to take what you like from what we have to offer and then do whatever you want with it in your own context. So, yeah. Any questions on that? Okay. I'm going to show off one more piece of what we have to offer. Let me stop sharing this and then flip back to. So one final thing that we have to offer. Oops. apologize for pushing the wrong button every once in a while. We did also create a smartphone app to go along with a lot of what's accessible on the civic literacy curriculum. If you're in a context where it would be helpful for your students to have access to some of these things on their phones, then certainly encourage you to download the CivEd app. So, so it's one of the links that you have on that agenda that Liz shared. You would need to, from your phone, go to either the link to download it on the App Store or the link on Google Play, or you can just do it from the phone. Like you can go to wherever you download apps from your phone and just type in CivEd, and you'll see one that looks like it's got a little kind of voting check mark in ASU maroon and gold, and it says CivEd, and it's very clearly from ASU. So that is some of the stuff that you'll see in there as you take a look. Let's see, any other final things here. One other piece that I'll highlight that might not be entirely of use to you. This is probably the most tenuous of all the things you might have available, but we do have this piece called the Arizona Constitution Project. We thought it was, commonplace that, a lot of people have produced pocket constitutions and annotated U.S. constitutions to try to help U.S. citizens and aspiring U.S. citizens and other just people who live in this country to learn about the government. Those are available all over the place on the website. People hand them out all the time. But we decided to do the same thing with our state constitution and provide the story of Arizona's constitutional creation on here as well. And so we have some pieces on here that could potentially be useful if you were teaching a unit on federalism and trying to get students to understand how states get entered into the union, what powers state governments have compared to the federal government. Obviously, I would imagine you'd prefer to focus on Kentucky as your standards require, but you may still find some useful bits in here related to federalism and federal principles on the Arizona Constitution Project website as well, which is also built within civics.asu.edu. So you can see this introduction to federalism. We have built an essential edition of the Arizona Constitution, which is annotated to describe, in plain language, what our state government does and how it functions. So that's what is built on there. I'm not sure that you'd find it any useful, but if it's fun for you to explore, you're welcome to take a look at that. So, all right. So, Liz, do you have any fun favorite pieces from the civic literacy curriculum or other features that you'd like to highlight from any of the things that we have laid out here today?
Do you mind going to Luke's blog post? Because
absolutely.
I think for teachers K through 12, that is really something.
Absolutely.
I'll kind of tell the story as you go. So part of our job, and I can't believe this is part of our job, it's really cool. But we chat with professors all the time, and we get basically, I feel like free classes, right, Jeff? And we were having a conversation with, and we call him Luke, Dr. Perez. And he was talking about how to take these big primary sources, right? Because sometimes you give kids primary sources and they're written in a different language because they were written in the 1700s. And kids look at these and they're like, huh? And so he actually shared with us a way that he does it with his college students. And as he's telling Jeff and I this, I'm hurrying to write it down. And it's like, this is so great because you can use it K through 12. It is a 3-sentence summary. And Jeff and I have taught it with long primary sources, short primary sources, political cartoons. But it is, what is the author arguing? How are they arguing it? And why does that matter? And it's such a cool thing because if you think about the Declaration of Independence, right? And there is a blog, oh my gosh, now podcast episode, because listening to Luke talk is also really fun. And we actually made a document that you can just download really easily and give to your students. And that way it's very much like, hey, we're gonna, look at this part of the Constitution today. And the nice thing is, because we very much aim to be nonpartisan, right? We're not getting into any of that. We will figure that out. This
It's
is
on there. It's
change
we'll
your name, by the way. But giving this to kids and allowing them to understand who the author is, why they're arguing what they're arguing, and why it matters really helps students understand these historical events in a way that, again, is not partisan. We're not pushing one side or the other. We're just trying to understand why it was written and how that's important. Another thing for us to fix, Jeff. We're just
yes. I do have the document, and so I put the link to the blog post and podcast episode in there, and I'm going to just put the document here too, since yeah. So the story is that we used to be called the Center for Political Thought and Leadership, and we decided that was not really describing what we did, so we changed our names to the Center for American Civics. And now, like, I guess with the website change, some things work, but occasionally we're still discovering something that's not quite fixed yet. So
download button works though. Woohoo!
Okay. All right, let me find the
Here, I gotcha.
file. I got the file. I found it. Let's see. Oh, you got it. Perfect. Okay, excellent. So there's our 3-sentence summary document if you would like to take a look at that. Great way to help your students understand that when you read a large chunk, if you can summarize chunks of it into that, what's the author arguing? How is the author arguing it? And why does it matter? That can make sense of a lot of big things. You can do that with the Declaration of Independence. You can do that with a particular Federalist paper. You can do that with letters that are written by civil rights activists over the years for various causes, women's suffrage.
Do it with
so
currently, if you're teaching current events, you can have your kids watch one of the candidates and pick out one of their arguments and talk about rhetorical analysis. Why do people utilize the things they use? Or when the president gives the State of the Union speech, pick out a piece of the State of the Union, not the whole thing, because that's crazy. What is the president saying? How is he arguing, he or she? How are they arguing? And why does this matter? Why does it matter to the American people? Because things like the economy or something else could come up. And yes, you can use it with second graders, right? So many cool political cartoons, or even like the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, great point.
Right? The person who made this, what are they trying to say? And why does that matter? Like, this can be changed into anything. And if you want to PDF and make it your own, please do that, because Jeff and I were legitimately skipping down the hall after we had this conversation. Such a cool thing.
All right. So that is a snapshot initially of some of what there is that we have to offer through the civic literacy curriculum and a couple other things on our website. We are very excited to continue working with all of you in KEDC with some more webinars that we'll be doing on other topics and other resources that we would love to introduce you to. But that's our starting point. I'll just pause and ask if there's any questions or other things that we can help with, or any confusions you have in the navigation of any of that stuff, or you let me know. What can we help you with?
Or if you want to know the best time to visit Arizona, so you can come to one of our workshops. It's not April through October.
Okay.
Seeing all the wonderful chat responses. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for the positive feedback. We're glad to have that.
Yeah, I love Michael's comment, a recharge trip to Arizona. I think that's fantastic. Now you all can see why I was so excited. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is like the starting point of where we're going to be. Again, my comment in the chat earlier, but wait, there's more.
Yeah.
We're just getting started. So I hope, I kind of confirmed some dates today with Jeff. You will, if you'll look at the calendar very shortly, you will see, I think we've got 6 more dates together, on the calendar. This has been excellent. I cannot wait, for you all to see all of the other things that are going to roll out. And, as Liz was saying, we were very intentional about making sure that we're going to curate time for elementary, our K through 3, K through 2. We're going to do some specific sessions, either denoted especially for you all, or time that we're going to break out and say, look, this is definitely for you all. Because that was one of the concerns that we talked about is, it seems that there's a plethora always for our high school teachers. But we talked about, that's a need, that's something that you all have wanted and requested. So we're going to make sure that we have specifically carved out strategies and things, especially for our primary and our elementary teachers. So yes, we are so thankful to get that information in your hands and rolled out to you all. This has been a wonderful session. I was so excited and kind of giddy because I remember what it was like in the classroom to have to, go to this one site and find this one thing, and it was great, and it was wonderful. But then you had to go to another site and find something else. But having it all right there for you, and the videos are there, and then the standards are there, and questions are there, and prompts are there, and like Rebecca said, and it's free. So I was so excited to get this out to you all. And originally when I was thinking, I had this session towards the end, and I thought, no, you all got to see this now so you can be utilizing it and using it.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for you all to see this. And I am going to go ahead and put the evaluation link in the chat. So make sure that you all fill this out. And I think we've 90 on today. So there were 90 teachers out of our 130. So everyone was excited about attending this session. So I'm so thankful for that. So not many are going to go back and watch it on replay. So civics, I told you, was a big thing in Kentucky. So thank you all so much
Great.
For taking time. And I will say, I'm going to put this out in an email, but since everyone is still on, one of the things that in a needs assessment survey that you all took time to fill out was that you were interested in podcast. And so we did link the podcast from Arizona State onto your invoice for invoice 2. And so we're going to be able to give you a little extra stipend for listening to a podcast, and you'll get paid. So I'll send you some more information on that, but that is linked on. So as soon as Jeff and Liz, they're getting their podcast information all tidied away for us. That is now on invoice 2. So you'll be able to choose some podcasts that are interesting to you, that will also set you up for success for podcasting with your students as well. So we wanted to give you some time to listen to some podcasts. 1, you're learning on your own, but 2, it'll kind of get you prepared for podcasting with your students as well. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Liz. We're looking forward to more learning with you all.
Our pleasure. We're really looking forward to seeing all of you again soon. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you all.
I don't know what she looks like. I didn't see her face.
And thank you again, everybody, for the great comments and feedback on here. We're really grateful for that.
Teachers are,
and Jeff, I can send you all specific evaluation information as well too. So
that'd be super helpful. We'd love to customize the programming to make sure it's meeting their needs. So
absolutely
helpful, because there are some podcasts that are like very Arizona